Afternoon, everyone. I'm Diana Falzone, and welcome to Bold Life. We have a great show for you today. Before we get to our first guest, remember, I'll be taking your comments and questions live during the show, so make sure to leave your thoughts on Facebook and Twitter. Now, let's welcome our first guest. We are ready to go and get into some lifestyle headlines of the week. We have Karine Delage with us from Karyzma Agency, Tanya Christian from Essence, and Jeremy Hassell from Reward the Fan. Hey, guys. Hey.
Hello.
So where do we go first? Because this has been a busy, busy week in celeb pop culture. Yeah. Shall we dig into the big story of the day? Kevin Hart. He was supposed to be the host for the Oscars. This was amazing. A lot of great feedback. And then boom, fall from grace. Some past homophobic tweets were unearthed, and he stepped down in a very candid Instagram video. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, really, these have come up before, and he's apologized for them before. So it's not even really like it's been unearthed. It's they've been out there for a while, and I do feel as though people can grow and people can change their opinions, but at the same time, people who are upset about it, they're valid. They're valid opinions.
Yeah, well, I think Kevin handled it the wrong way in this situation, okay? If he knew this was coming out, he didn't want to apologize. I give him credit for standing his ground, which is a lot of people don't do that now. They do the PC thing. I'll give him that. But on the other side, this was a great opportunity for him to host this big event and bring out some LGBTQ members, do some funny skits with the cast of Pose, or maybe even have RuPaul's Drag Race there. Well, they would steal the show. But anyway, he could have done something fun with this and not made it into this serious issue that it is right now.
Yeah.
I think you're totally right. It's like the biggest platform you could get on the TV side of things, film and whatnot. So I do believe that he should have hosted and just keep going and just like express himself with the LGBT community.
Mm-hmm. My gut is that it probably wasn't his choice totally. He was probably getting pushed into stepping down from people behind the scenes because, you never really know what's happening.
And I think the thing is they wanted him to apologize. And he felt like, oh, well, I've already apologized. But even in doing that, though, you're apologizing. Like, you still apologize. So you did exactly what you said you did not want to do. Mm-hmm. So I don't see why he...
The ego can be your worst nemesis.
Ooh, take that. Whoever's watching, take that at home. But also, I think there's a great opportunity for someone new and fresh to come out, and especially we need more females. For the millions of watching, I think we should have Ali Wong host. And if you don't know who she is, check out her Netflix special. I haven't laughed so hard.
That is interesting.
Just putting it out there.
All right, Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas got married last weekend. Congrats, you crazy kids. They had 2 ceremonies in India, a Christian service on Saturday with a gorgeous white dress and a train, and then the traditional Hindu ceremony on Sunday with some epic dancing. What do you guys think about that?
Congrats.
Because this is my vibe. This is my vibe.
Go ahead.
On celebrity weddings. And I have covered a lot of celebrity news, as I know all of you do. And it's like, you know what? Anyone can have a baby. Well, if you're lucky, because I went through infertility. So, I always have to put that precursor. But also, anyone can get married. So it's kind of like, we're happy for you.
But, again, wait, she's saying but? Or do you feel the same way?
They got married. Let them be. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's a great time for everyone when you get married. Well, hopefully it's a good time.
Right.
You never know again. But honestly, I'm just like, let them be happy.
Yeah, but that's not what happened.
Exactly.
Because The Cut got involved with an op-eds writer who wrote a really searing piece that they took down, but called Priyanka a scam artist. And then the Jonas family hit back and said they're really in love, leave them alone. And then hashtag thank you next, Ariana Grande's awesome song that I can't get out of my head. So we don't like the haterade.
No. I think people are just fascinated because of the age difference too.
10 years.
And and I think when they first came out, I was like, okay. Mm-hmm. And then they started getting serious. You're like, okay, so you're really doing this. After she had her bridal, her bachelorette party, I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually happening. So I think it's really the fascination with the age difference.
So you think the May-December thing being reversed with the gender roles confuses people? Open your minds.
Yes. Yes.
I think it's awesome, and I think we need them. There are a lot of couples breaking up. There's a lot of anger and hate out there. And seeing two people now, I've interviewed Nick a few times. He's very down to earth, which is super cool with someone that famous, Yeah. Priyanka, I haven't, but just watching her on TV, I think they met their match, and I think when you find a good partner, just in general in life, you do great things. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do next.
A good partner enhances you, and that's how it should be. I also like seeing the blending of the different cultures and the traditions, and I thought that was really interesting. Yeah. In other celebrity news that's not happy, rapper Cardi B and her husband Austin announced they are splitting, even though Cardi B took it to Instagram and said it was, we just fell out of love. His alleged mistress spoke out and said, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I wish I was more grown and handle it better. Whatever. Thoughts on this?
Is this real life or is it a reality show? What do we think? What do we really think here?
No, it's not Love and Hip Hop anymore.
Yeah. Is it?
Oh. You got a good contract? You know something I don't know?
No, just put it out there.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate. I always think it's unfortunate when a couple breaks up. But the reality is there were issues from the very beginning. And there were constantly rumors of him cheating, but then also video evidence of him cheating.
So you're not really rumors.
Right. Not really rumors. It's not really the Travis Scott issue. But, and so in that sense, you're kind of like, well, I'm happy that she's not in that situation because who wants to keep getting cheated on? Oh. And I know that, people want to stay because they have kids together and they really love that person. But, I mean, she's very young. How long is that going to continue?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And I think you want to have, both sides being happy on their own, too. And, yes, there's the baby involved, obviously, and people do stay sometimes because the kid. But, I mean, hey, sometimes it's way better for them to be apart for the sake of the baby as well.
Mm-hmm. Or it could just be like Offset, get it together, keep it in your pants, and step up and be a father and a partner.
Yeah.
Instead of putting it all on Cardi B to have to deal with his mess.
Yeah. Would be nice. I don't know that that's
probably
happening.
Not capable.
I don't know that that's happening.
Allegedly, don't know him, but from what I've seen in the past as a blueprint, that's what I'm thinking. We also saw the first photos of Cardi and Offset's baby named Culture, and she is precious and so cute.
She's adorable.
I mean, how can you not melt when you see that?
That's a beautiful kid, but do you guys think maybe Cardi put that photo out in spite? Because right now, she's just divorcing, saying on Instagram that, she didn't say divorce, said they're not longer together. And then now she puts the kid out picture right after that. Is Cardi maybe a social media maven to switch the narrative? Because look, we just did right now.
Exactly.
Well, cute babies always win. What am I talking about?
Oh, they do. Babies and puppies. Yeah.
Correct.
That's all I really want in my social media. Honestly,
I hear that a lot.
I don't need to hear my great-great-uncle's thoughts on Donald Trump. I don't think anyone does. All right. Buckle up for the holidays, everyone. Guys, thank you so much for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Come back soon. For our next segment, we're excited to welcome Grey Griffin on Skype. She is a voice actress, and you've probably heard her in shows like Scooby-Doo. I apologize. And The Fairly Odd Parents, or movies like Transformers. Her first comedy special is out now, which is called My First Comedy Special. Very to the point and very cute. And it's streaming now on Amazon Prime. We are waiting for Grey Griffin to come through Skype. It's this magical little thing that exists in the Ethernet, so we have to wait for her to join us. And we're live, so it happens. We have some comments coming for later on the show today from Kathleen Klein. She's excited to hear from author Alexander McCall Smith. He'll be joining us later in the show in studio. And it looks like we're ready now for our guest, Grey. Hey, Grey.
Guys, hey.
Oh, hey.
I'm terrible at technology, so I'm hoping this is going to work out.
That's okay. I was just asking everyone how to do an Instagram story, and I'm a millennial, so I have no excuse. How did you get into voice acting?
Oh my goodness. I wanted to be a stand-up comic since I was a little girl, and I was doing stand-up, but I didn't have any funny jokes. I just did impressions. So Mitzi Shore at the Comedy Store said, hey, you should do voiceovers while you're writing some jokes. So I did that for 20 years, and now I'm just getting back to comedy.
So it was Pauly Shore's mom, who's the iconic, or was the iconic owner of the Comedy Store in LA, that gave you your first break in so many ways.
Well, kind of. I mean, she gave me some great advice. She said, honey, you got to write some jokes. You can't just do impressions. And I was like, oh, okay. She said, so while you're writing jokes, you should go do cartoons. You're good at the voices. So
now, did you always have a natural ear where you were able to hear someone's voice and then mimic them? Or was it something you had to work on?
From the time I was really little, I used to get in trouble for making, I wasn't making fun of people, but if I heard a weird laugh, I remember a lady at a restaurant had this really interesting laugh, and I was like 8 or whatever, and I just went right after she laughed, and my grandma was like, you can't do that.
That's awesome. What advice would you give young people trying to get into voice acting?
Well, theater is a great place to start, because theater, in voice acting, I don't just play my age and just like, a mom or whatever. I play a little boy and an old lady and a tree and a dragon. I mean, theater is the only other place I can think of where you stretch your mind that much and can play so many different things. Also, start doing a YouTube channel, because those influencers are cleaning up in the cartoon world.
Really? Really? Do you ever feel like they have it a lot easier than you had it, because you had to kind of pave the path in it, and more of like the pounding the pavement way rather than turning on the computer way?
Absolutely. I remember just like, if I saw a camera when I was little, like, if a news story was happening or something, and I was like be dragging my grandma over there, like, I gotta get interviewed for this news story, or I just have to be in front of a camera so people can find me. I need to get discovered.
Oh, that's so cute.
We did Family Feud when I was little, and I did my impressions on Family Feud. It's on YouTube if you look it up. But I thought, oh, well, this is going to be it. All the producers are going to be dying to have me do their cartoons, but it took another 10 years.
You were an overnight success.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite characters to voice?
Oh, well, Jeepers, I love doing Daphne. I've been doing that for like 20 years. And Vicky the Babysitter's fun, because all the millennials are like, oh my gosh, you're my childhood. and Azula from Avatar is very evil, and I like doing her a lot.
And now I do a show called The Loud House, and I get to actually work with my 11-year-old son. He plays my big brother.
I play Lola on The Loud House, and I play Lana, and I play the baby.
And I play Scoots, a little old lady, too. She rides right on a scooter.
It's amazing to see you transform and transition into different characters. When you're home and you get a script, for instance, like when you got Daphne from Scooby-Doo, did you have to think about, okay, how does she sound to me? Because she's been a well-known character for so long. How did you make her your own? Or did you try to mimic something?
Well, it was really intense, because my really dear, dear friend, who was my mentor and teacher, she was Daphne, and she passed away. And they gave me this tape and said, can you try to match it? And I was grieving, and I said, I can't listen to it because it's just too painful to listen to her. I don't even want to audition for it. But her husband was like, you were her student. She loved you. She would want you to do this. And so I said, I'll go to the audition, but I cannot listen to her tape. So I just did what I felt, sort of my take on it. And the engineer and the director said, oh my God, we got goosebumps. You sounded so much like her. Mary Kay Bergman. She was incredible. Wonderful.
What would your 10-year-old self say if you went back and told her that she'd be the voice of iconic characters like Daphne?
It's amazing. I can't even believe it. I used to come home from school and put, my robe on and get ice cream and watch, Scooby-Doo and the Jetsons and, Flintstones. And now I'm playing, Betty Rubble and Jane Jetson and Daphne. I just would have never, it's just crazy. And then I'd watch Kung Fu after that. That was fun too. But it's just, sometimes I still pinch myself and think like, I can't believe I'm getting paid for this. It's amazing.
Is there any character that you want to voice that you haven't had the opportunity to yet?
Well, Snow White was my all-time favorite when I was little. It's my favorite Disney movie of all time. And I feel like I've got the look down.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I used to play Snow White at kids' parties in college, and I really love Snow White. But I got very close on the voice match, but didn't make it.
Can you do the voice of Snow White?
I can't sing like Snow White.
Can you do her voice though? Because I'm very intrigued by this.
Oh yes.
Oh, look at these little men. Oh, let me see your hands. You must wash your hands. I'm wishing for the one I love to find me.
Oh my gosh. They just took me back. They took me back for sure. You also were in the Transformers movie.
Yes.
Are you excited to watch the new Transformer movie, Bumblebee?
Oh, I am. I can't wait. And I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. And
oh
they
my
all
gosh.
Nobody more than the 4-year-old. He's really into it. I can't even figure out how to put those darn things together. Usually we open it into what it's going to not be. And I'm like, oh, I can't ever get it back to what it's supposed to be or the other thing. Anyway, but it's going to be very exciting. I can't wait to take them.
Another thing that's very exciting is you have a new comedy special out. And like you said, it was your dream to do this. It's your first one. Can you tell us about that?
I can't believe how many people are watching it. I get to see the numbers. It's got like 45,000 streams or something in a week, which I didn't know if anyone would watch it besides my family. And it's got 5 stars reviews, and I don't know about half the people. I know half the people, but the other half, I have no idea. So
what was the transition?
I'm very excited. It's gotten more. It's way bigger than I ever could have dreamed. So
now that it's had success, what was the transition like from voiceover work to stand-up?
Oh my goodness. Well, I had gotten kind of cozy in my voiceover stuff. I show up, everybody knows me, and, they know that I'm going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And stand up, it's like I'm having to win over the room again, and it's kind of exciting because I go in and people are like, all right, let's see if this girl's funny. It's kind of fun to make people laugh. And they're surprised because a lot of guys are very sexist and they're like, oh, it's a woman, she's not going to be funny. I was on a bill the other day and since my name is kind of an asexual name, they thought that I was a guy. So they were like, oh, there's no women on this bill. So it'll probably be a funny show. And I was like, oh, I was very
Do you think that it's changing in comedy where women are starting to kind of change the ratio where it's getting equalized, or there's still a way to go?
I think there's a little ways to go still, but it is getting better. I come from a world where I'm usually the only woman in the room anyway. Voiceover wise, they usually hire one woman to do the kids and the old ladies and and the girl, female parts. So I'm usually the only woman in the booth anyway. So I'm kind of used to that boys club thing. But comedy, it was a little even tougher. So there's a lot of people who just, I think they're kind of angry because women are there's a lot more women in the game now, so it's exciting. But
no, I think we need more women's voices for sure, including women who can do tons of voices like you.
I try.
Well, congrats on the comedy special, and thanks for sharing your talents with us.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Bye.
Next up, we're talking body positivity. Recently, actress Jameela Jamil made headlines for her comments against diet detox drinks and the celebrities who promote them on social media. She says these detox teas are all a lie, and anyone who sells them are promoting unhealthy products and body image ideas. I'm curious to hear what our next guest has to say about this. We're excited to have rapper Shanthony Exum, aka Miss Eaves, with us. You may know her viral body positive song Thunder Thighs. Let's watch a clip.
Big, but these pants are tight enough. I'm stuck, they only go halfway up. Mom jeans all day, why you mad though? Mom jeans all day, why you mad?
Thunder thighs, thunder thighs. Thunder thighs, thunder thighs.
Oh my, got them thunder thighs. Boom, clap, they smack when I stride.
What was the response to that video?
It was pretty huge. I think that people were waiting for a song that they felt they were represented in, and like a lot of people, it resonated with a lot of people.
What made you decide, I have to do this video, I have to do this song?
Well, I write music that also I need, so I have thick thighs. I get chub rub in the summer. So I was just like, it just came out. Like, it was just what I was feeling. I think I had done a lot of exercise. It was really hot. Had thigh rash. I was like, yeah, this is how I feel.
This is how I feel, and I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
Especially when there's a lot of stuff that's promoting the thigh gap, which is, separation of women's thighs. It should say how skinny they are, and that's really unhealthy for a lot of women to achieve. It's not usually their body type.
Exactly. I like to just say, whatever your thighs are doing, just embrace that. I don't want to shame people who have thigh gap, because there are people who are just naturally skinny, but then there's also people whose thighs touch. So it's just I really would like to shift society where we're not focusing so much on this one standard for women's bodies or people's bodies in general. And we're just embracing everyone. We all come in a variety of ways, and let's just embrace that and celebrate that.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we're just obsessed with our bodies to a point where it's become really unhealthy, and we're kind of getting past the point of just being human and the existence, but it's a whole other conversation. So let's talk about Jamila, who used humor to call out really serious social and health issues, which you do in your music as well, as we just covered. Do you think people are more willing to discuss big issues when there's humor involved?
Absolutely. I think humor makes things a lot more accessible. I think if you come at it from like you're making people feel bad or shaming them or telling them they're wrong, they're going to be a little bit more like off put by that. But if you're just funny and it's like more accessible, it does make it easier to talk about some of these more complex issues.
Right. People don't want to be preached.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty much it. I've seen these diet teas all over Instagram, and it seems like a quick fix. And I'm sure if you are looking for a quick fix or you're looking at the pretty celebrity holding these teas, you might think, okay, well, I'm going to do that and not really understand the risk because you're thinking a celebrity's endorsing it. It's got to be safe. What do you make of these things?
Well, I do think that anything a celebrity endorses, there should be a degree of transparency in that. And they shouldn't be endorsing things like promoting it as if they use it, if they're not actually using it, especially if things are safe or unsafe. They shouldn't be promoting it at all just because like their fans, if they're influencers or celebrities, their fans look up to them and their fans are, listening to them a little bit more than maybe the average person they would meet on the street. And so they do have a responsibility. I really do enjoy when celebrities have their show their glam team, show that it takes a village to put together their looks, because it's just this is not just me, this is not natural. I mean, I think it's fine if people have a team of people putting together a look, but let's just be transparent that that's what it is.
Right. And that also calls out airbrushing. And Jamila was saying that she thinks it should be illegal.
Right.
Or maybe there should be some sort of asterisk next to it, like this person is heavily airbrushed and did not wake up like this. Do you have opinions on that?
I do. I think I agree with the first part, with what she's saying as far as transparency with celebrities representing these products. But I feel like maybe making airbrushing illegal would be a little bit too far. And also it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gash. The problem is we live in a society that's obsessed with thinness, with youth, with even the proximity to being whiter. So I think that once we solve that, we start representing all different types of bodies, that will be more of a solve. But the difference, makeup and airbrushing, I don't see that being much of a difference. These are all ways that we modify our bodies. And I think it's people should be entitled to modify their bodies. We just need to think about the motivation behind it and not make them feel pressured to do that.
That's true and fair. Do you think we'll see more companies who are going to think, well, maybe I shouldn't do airbrushing anymore? Because we've seen some that do no airbrushing campaigns. Dove has been about inclusivity, showing more real women, as they call it. I'm just quote unquote real. Is that something that you think would be a smart marketing move for corporations to do?
I think there is a desire for people to see more real bodies, but I would like it to go even further, because still a lot of people who are represented still fit into that media standard of beauty. And I would like to broaden that. So let's just show people of different ages, all different body types, and not just the perfectly curvy person with this flat stomach and the big butt. Let's show someone with a little bit of a tummy. Let's show a variety of bodies. And I think that's what I'm trying to do with my art and my work, is just show all these different ways of existing to normalize it, so people aren't feeling like there's something wrong with them, because we all come in such a variety of ways and it's all fine.
Do you think social media obviously makes us feel like we have to keep up with other people and that maybe we're not living up to a certain standard, but you're saying you're using your platform to show realness and to show that whatever you are, whoever you are, it's okay and it's good. So is there that positive side to social media that we should be highlighting more, rather than just social media is the devil?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything can have a good and bad aspect to it. I do feel like if people are a little bit more real on social media, showing the times when they're not always put together, and showing kind of what's behind the scenes when they're sad, just showing this more full picture of a life, I think that might be a good way to have more connection with people. But if you're only showing the polished, happy, good times, that's not even realistic. And I think that's when people start feeling lonely and isolated on social media. But I think there is an opportunity to have this be a great source of connection and realness and just honesty.
Where can people find your music?
If you go to misseaves.com, you can see it. I'm also on YouTube and Spotify.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Well, thank you for your insights.
Thank you.
Really good stuff. Our next segment is our Bookster segment. Bookster is a website for book lovers and much more. We're excited to have Alexander McCall Smith joining us via Skype. His latest book, The Colors of All the Cattle, is volume 19 of his very popular series called The #1 Ladies Detective Agency. Welcome, Alexander.
Hello, Diane.
Hello, it's lovely to have you.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Now, first, can you give us an overview of the #1 Ladies Detective Agency series for our viewers who are unfamiliar?
Well, this is a series of books which is set in Botswana, and it deals with the life of Precious Ramotswe, who's by way of being a private detective in Botswana, which is in southern Africa. And I started this series of books almost 20 years ago, well, in fact, 20 years ago. And this is volume 19. I skipped a year at one point. It's been a long conversation with this person in Botswana and her friends, but I've enjoyed it greatly.
Why did you decide to set the series in Botswana?
Well, I'd worked in Botswana, and I knew the country, and I had great admiration for the country. Botswana is an extraordinary country. It's one of the finest countries in Africa, if not the finest country in Africa. It's had a very good history since independence in 1966. They've done great things, and I like the people. They're charming people, very kind, courteous people. And so I found myself wanting to write about that society, and Precious Ramotswe came into my mind.
Is the main character in this series based on a particular person you knew when you lived in Botswana?
No, I wish I could say yes. I wish I could say I could take you to somebody in Botswana who's Ramotswe, but no, I could take you to many people who are like her. Fictional characters are often based on a number of people whom the author has met in the past, and Ramotswe is based on a number of ladies I've met in Africa.
Is it easier to write as the series goes on and you know the characters so well, or is it more fun early on when you're still developing them?
Well, I think it does become easier when you've been with a character for some time. And when you write a sequel or when you write another book in the series, you don't really have to introduce the character all over again. You don't really have to imagine the character yourself all over again. So I think it is a little bit easier. It's also more pleasant because a character in a serial novel, in a novel which is part of a long series, actually becomes your friend and becomes a friend of the readers as well. The readers feel that they know these people because they've spent a lot of time with them in previous books.
I like how you address that, because I was just thinking it becomes your friend. Even though you created her or those characters in the book, you've really attached.
Yes, that's right. And characters in books also acquire a strength of their own, a life of their own. And so they'll do things which may surprise you. You think that you, as the author, are in control of their lives, but you're wrong. They're in control of their lives themselves.
Your work also gently addresses tough issues like spousal abuse and depression. Has any one topic been particularly hard for you to write?
Well, I do deal with those a little bit. They're mostly in the background. My books are, I think, probably regarded as being more positive. I like dealing with kindness. I like writing about kindness. And Ramotswe, my central character, is a very kind woman. I find it very, very interesting to write about the virtues in this life and about people who are kind.
Do you have a favorite of the book or the books in the series?
I think that would be rather difficult to do. I feel I tend to like the last one that I've written. So this last one is volume 19. So I might say, well, volume 19 is my favorite so far.
Do you think that is there going to be a time where you're going to get tired of writing this series and say, I'm ready to retire it? Or are you just going to keep writing and writing and writing until your last breath for this series?
Well, I don't want to stop my conversation with these characters. We're almost on volume 20. I'm writing volume 20 next year. And indeed, I write many other series of novels. I write about 5 series. And so I've got an awful lot of characters that I feel a certain responsibility for. And so I don't want to get up and walk away from an ongoing conversation with these people. And also, their lives, there are things that I feel might still happen to them. Nothing nasty is going to happen to them. I'm not one of these authors who will dispose of his characters. I can reassure my readers that Precious Ramotsui is going to be okay, and nothing unfortunate is going to happen.
Oh, good. At least they don't have to worry about anyone having an untimely demise at this point.
That's right. That's very, very important to reassure readers of that.
Because like you said, people get very, very emotionally attached to the characters that you've created. You have multiple series based in Scotland, Botswana, and Germany. Does one of these countries resonate with you the most?
Well, I suppose Scotland, where I live, is particularly important for me. And I write a series of books called the 44 Scotland Street Books, which is a serial novel, which I publish in a newspaper as I write the chapters. I'm very fond of that because I'm writing about my particular world. When I'm writing about Botswana, I'm writing about a country that I've got to know to an extent, and about people whom I admire. But Scotland is really my place. When I'm writing about Botswana, I'm very conscious of the fact that I'm an outsider, albeit an outsider who's lived there and who's got a particular relationship with the place. But Scotland is where I live, and so I suppose that tends to be particularly important for me.
Alexander, I wanted to jump in because we're getting some comments from social media, and you have a big fan in a woman named Kathleen Klein who said, I would miss your characters too much if you stopped writing about them. I love spending time with them. And she said, thank you, Alexander. I love your characters and stories, both the #1 ladies detective in Botswana and the series in Edinburgh, too.
Well, thank you very much indeed for those kind comments. And may I assure you that I'm intending to continue writing.
Also, HBO adapted your #1 ladies detective series and made it into a TV show. How was that to work on it?
Well, that was very interesting for me in that it took them some time to get that whole thing organized. And they had great difficulty finding just the right person for the main character of Mara Matsui. And eventually they got a lady called Jill Scott, who's by way of being a very famous singer. She's a jazz singer.
Yes.
And Jill played Mara Matsui really, really well. I thought that she was perfect for the character. And then the part of Mama Kutsi, who was the sidekick of Mara Matsui, was played by an actress called Annika Noni Rose, who was very good as well. All of them were very good in that series. But I found it particularly interesting that Jill and Annika had never been to Botswana before, so they didn't know the country. But my goodness, they got it just right. I think singers in particular are very good. They've got a very good ear for language and for accents.
You also have a spin-off detective series for younger readers. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I have a number of, I write quite a few books for children. And yes, there are all sorts of books. Those ones there that are being illustrated at the moment are books that I've written about Precious Ramotsui when she was a little girl, when she was 8. And so I've written, I think, a total about 4 or 5 of those books. And I enjoy doing that. And so what has actually happened is that some of the younger readers have read those, and then they've grown up a bit, and they've started on the main series, which I find very nice.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for joining us, Alexander.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you.
Really amazing work. He is a beloved author. I could tell from all of my social media comments. There are too many to get to. For our next segment, we're happy to have MJ Gottlieb with us. He is the co-founder and CEO of Loosid, a new lifestyle app that makes it easy to find groups in your community that promote sober living. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And congrats on the app.
Oh, I appreciate it.
This is really needed, especially what's going on in our society. I think more and more people are looking to live a sober lifestyle, and it's hard without the support. So can you tell us about your journey with sobriety and why you created this app?
Yeah, I started trying to get sober in the I would say late 90s. And the problem that I had was I was finding myself in diners and coffee shops. And if sobriety was going to be about living in diners and coffee shops, I was going to continue to use. And so I continued to do that for the next 15 years or so. So I wanted to create a platform that, you know, shows that you can have amazing experiences in sobriety, so that way you don't, like me, had to go stay out for an extra 15, 18 years.
And kind of avoid the places that would promote an unhealthy lifestyle or bring you to drinking, like restaurants or nightclubs or anything like that.
Yeah, because if you think about it, you know, I live in New York City.
Yeah.
And within a 4-block radius, there's, you know, 684 bars and places to drink. So it was so important to really build a community and events and all these things happening where you can have amazing experiences that just don't involve drinking or using substances.
Well, and especially during the holiday season, people are always, and I don't think they mean any harm, but they don't necessarily know if someone's having an issue with alcohol or substances, but they're pushing, have a drink, have a cocktail, you know, da-da-da. And for someone who's trying to not, you know, drink and try to getting themselves off of alcohol, this is a difficult time.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to have a safe space for people to connect. And like you said, especially during the holidays when people are trying to, like, how can't you have any fun if you're not going to drink? To really put together amazing experiences where you have these like-minded people who share that common bond. It's not just restricted to people in recovery. It's for all those who choose to live a sober lifestyle.
When people say, or with your app, you're saying like sobriety can be fun. Are people surprised by that combination?
I was surprised. So I mean, so
look, you just came in your eyes.
Oh my God! So it's so important to understand that so many of my friends, hundreds, even thousands, they just simply, and there was even a Dr. Oz segment about it, that they simply thought that it was going to be the end of fun as they knew it. And so it was so important for me when I come from the business side, and what better way to connect people than through the digital platform. So how can we take this upwards of 80 to 90 million people and connect them into one place? Because there's 20-odd million people who are in recovery. There's upwards of 30 to 40 million people still trying to, you know, get sober. And then what people don't understand is that up to 1/3 of the American public do not drink, whether it be, you know, faith, CrossFit, wellness, spirituality. And so with us, it's really important to tie in the wellness space, because the last thing that I was thinking when I was using was, oh, let me grab a green juice or run to a yoga class.
Right.
So that wellness and, you know, that all those other people in the health, wellness, faith, spirituality, that's why we wanted to make it all inclusive.
And what does the app offer for people who are thinking about joining?
Yeah, so we're very heavy on the experiential side, right? So it's really about, there's 12-step programs where, you know, you go to a meeting for argument's sake. So what happens in the other 23 hours? So we have travel, where we've partnered with Sober Vacations International, which is the largest sober travel company in the world. And then we have an events team that's curating just amazing events all around the New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut area, and then expanding to Miami, to Los Angeles, Miami, Atlanta, San Francisco. So there's the travel. There's the events, there's groups. So say you want to be the Malibu sober surfers, you know, you get like-minded people to come together. And then what people don't know, there's dating. Now, dating is something I am on again, off again, single. And so when I fire up these apps and they're like, how are we going to have any fun, you know, if you don't drink? And I get that maybe 8 to 9 times out of 10. And so by creating that, that safe space where you know that the person on the other side of the table is not drinking is incredibly valuable, especially for people who are jumping into sobriety for the first time, where it really triggers them. So to provide that safe container, a lot of people don't really understand the challenges of dating when you're sober. So that's one of the significant features. Then we have a robust suite of recovery tools for those that need it most, which the Lifesavers, the hotline, the beacon, which is like your sober bat signal, which sends a signal out and
you need some
pings
support.
Everybody in the Loosid community and says, hey, what do you want to do? Stuff like that.
Oh, that's really important. It seems like you've covered a lot of different bases and a lot of things, too, that people probably don't think about when they decide that they're going to be sober, how it can influence so many different aspects of their life. How did you come to find the app's name Loosid?
So there's a saying, wear sobriety like a loose garment. Like, relax, chill out, take it don't be so uptight. So that's the loose part of it, right? The L-O-O-S-E.
Yeah, that's good.
And then there's lucid, which is clarity of thought. So we blended the loose with the lucid and created Loosid, L-O-O-S-I-D.
Well, as I said in the beginning of our interview, this is really needed. And there's a lot of people out there that are struggling and don't know where to go and I think there's a lot of shame when there's addiction or alcoholism and a lot of denial that they even have a problem. So this is a safe, private way that they can look into seeing their options for sobriety.
Yeah.
So thank you for all the work you're doing. It's more needed than I wish it was.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Okay. To you as well.
Thank you. For our next segment, we're very excited to welcome Chief Temitope Ajayi. She is the chairman and CEO of Silicon Valley Nigerian Economic Development. Their mission is to establish a strategic economic relationship between Silicon Valley and Nigeria. It is such a pleasure to have you here, and you're doing just incredible work for integrating Silicon Valley and Nigeria. Can you tell us about your work with the SV-NED?
Yes, SV-NED, there are 5 most important things we do. Number 1, we are acting as a form of a consultant between Silicon Valley and Nigeria in recruiting of engineers. Because in the field of agriculture, engineering, and information technology. Number 2, we are very, very interested in STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You see, Africa is kind of losing out if that thing is not reinforced, because the world is going global. Information technology. And the world is talking if artificial intelligence, blockchain, AI, IoT, Internet of Things, you understand? Yes. Programming, data. Where is Africa? So the most important thing we are trying to do is to reinforce STEM into the primary school curriculum.
It has to start early.
From grade 2. After school event. Put these kids on the computer. Number 3, we're trying to have a coding camp.
That's really important.
You see, we're very blessed. Silicon Valley has been very good to us. Some partners like IBM, Oracle, HP, and this is another one, LinkedIn, you understand? We are partnering with 42 Silicon Valley. This is a coding camp where they put kids there for 6 months and get them certified. You see, the problem with Africans, especially my country, they're very, very articulate, very smart. But the opportunity is what is lacking.
Yes.
That is why I'm appealing to Silicon Valley to tap into our intellectual properties in Silicon Valley, in Nigeria, in Africa as a whole. We are using Nigeria as our, what do you call it?
The starting ground?
Starting ground. You see, the kids are so smart. all they need is to be engaged.
Exactly. They need to be challenged.
Yes. And what we're trying to do, we've established a bilateral trade, building the bridge between two economies, Silicon Valley and Nigeria. We've done that one. Now we are like a recruiter. Now what we're going to do, we started this immersion program where we take professors and engineers to Nigeria. You see, it's easier for them to employ them offshore than bringing them to America. We're trying to establish like an incubator. Like I went to Nigeria, I built one. And I'm trying to have incubators in 6 geographical zones in Nigeria where we can put this, I call them proteges. If you see what they've done, I'm just ready. And as fate will have it, we have angel investors which were introduced to us by IBM. I have to give them the credit in Silicon Valley. The angel investors are ready to listen to their pitches so that they can partner or invest in their innovation. So we've done the first immersion program. We've done the second immersion program. The first 2 are very successful. And we're about to do the third one next year, by the grace of God, where we're taking engineers. Now, this one is recruiting straight up. Now, the good news, last week, we just had an event with the United Nations.
Oh, wow.
We partner with the Nigerian Embassy, the Permanent Mission, UNESCO, and some other establishments. You see, we want to reinforce STEM. And luckily, they just passed the International Day of Education. So we are more of the SDG goals, which we pledge to support.
So is it your hope that eventually these programs, especially with the focus on STEM, will start getting placed in the primary schools? Just at this point, how many schools would you even say have this available to them?
You see, Rome was not built in a day.
No, and you're starting at the very beginning.
Yes, it's a revolution
for your work.
And that is why I'm appealing to the American government, American business people. You know, Silicon Valley, the way they discovered India, and the way Bill Gates discovered India, and Warren Buffett and Oracle. I want them to now start to discover Africa, Nigeria. It's cheaper for them, cutting costs, to even employ them offshore. These are engineers. You can't believe it. We had this exam after the immersion program. The exam was conducted by a Stanford professor. And they had the exam at the floor of GTI, trading floor. That's our stock exchange. Because everybody to their own computer. We really want to know whether they're smart. You can't believe it. Out of 100 students, 60 got perfect score.
Wow.
When I say perfect score, that is 100%. 1% got 100%. 15 got between 98 and 99%. Marked in Silicon Valley. Now, so from 60 of them, the prodigies first-class brain. I'm very passionate about this.
As you should be.
I am a mother. Like I said, American government has been so nice to me and my kids. All my children got the best education in this country. You understand? My kids went to Harvard, you can imagine. She's a professor now at NYU. Lillian and Denise, you understand? American government has been very kind to me. And the only thing I can do to say thank you is to help other kids.
To pay it forward.
That's why I established this company as a minority woman CEO in Silicon Valley. I belong to the Silicon Valley Chambers of Commerce, Silicon Valley Capital Club, Silicon Valley Capital, Black Chambers of Commerce. I'm in everything there. But you see, that's not it. What do I want to be remembered for? I love Bold.
Thank you.
Bold TV.
Thank you so much. You'll have to come back.
Thank you.
And I could tell you're a very proud mama. For our next segment, we're happy to have London Brown back on the show. London is a comedian and an actor, and he stars in HBO's Ballers with The Rock. Welcome back to the show, London.
Hey, thank you for having me back. I appreciate being here.
Of course.
Awesome.
So this was a big week. The Golden Globes were announced.
Yeah.
This is now kicking off like award season. Has this become like a stressful time for actors, or is it more fun and you get out and party a bunch?
I think it's it becomes a little bit of both, but I think that even though I think that a lot of times I think when as actors you just want to try to have a great performance, and being very moment to moment, present to present from each scene, and so forth. So I think if people allow themselves to focus on, I'm going to try to have a great performance so I can win an award, then that already is where we get some of that anxiety, I think, that that you mentioned. Because that shouldn't be the approach to acting anyway, or for a great performance. You just want to do well and be very present.
Right. You're not thinking like, am I going to get nominated and am I going to...
You can't be that. You can't do that.
For most actors, isn't it like, I just hope I have a job next season? Because it's so tough.
Acting is like an incredible temp job. While you work, and then, at least for some of us, because, you get your Incredibles like the Denzel and so forth, that at that point, you get scripts that are just, flown in, I would imagine.
But that's like the 1%. That's not
exactly.
That's not common.
You're right. So if you can do it, there's you can do it and stay working. Mm-hmm. Be very humble about it and gracious about it. So that's the thing about being an artist, man. It's serious. You got to really like doing this.
Your character on Ballers was originally supposed to be like a few scenes or whatever, and then didn't it grow into a regular because your character became so liked?
Well, I wouldn't even say that. It started off with, yes, he's supposed to be recurring, which is, I guess, showing up a few episodes. Mm-hmm. And they decided to make him a lead within the audition process. So I think the growth of the character just happened because they were able to enjoy the chemistry that I was able to develop with the other actors, and I think people do like Reggie. I mean, at least now. Season 1, people didn't know. They were in some space of ambivalence about liking him or not because of the annoying side of him. But now people like Reggie. They dig Reggie, so.
Yeah, he was cool. A little bit, I wouldn't say, not dislike, but he was kind of a loud, obnoxious character, right?
Yeah, he was, but as an actor, which is really dope for me because it gives me some space to grow through the season. So I embraced it personally. I like playing somebody I'm totally so not.
How have you seen him evolve, or actually created him to evolve?
I think it actually just kind of happened almost by accident, depending on who they paired Reggie with. In season 1, he was with Spencer, so he became the antagonist, and then season 2, he started to connect with the character of Joe Crutel. And so with me working with Rob Corddry, comedically we were able to find some stuff that, in some scenes I'm the straight guy and he gets the punches, the funny lines, or it'd be the reverse. Mm-hmm. We improvise a lot, and I think they just kind of grew into what people are seeming to enjoy at this point. So we'll see. Hopefully people can enjoy them for season 5,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Going back to the Golden Globes, they announced Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh as the host. Mm-hmm. Is that intriguing to you at all or exciting to you at all, who they picked?
You mean as far as the new host?
Yeah.
I just feel like we are dealing with a very sensitive audience in general, and when it comes to, with them, I'm sure they're probably going to do well, and I'm sure the Oscars probably feel that that's a safer thing to do.
Well, those are the Golden Globes.
Well, no, okay, what are you talking about exactly?
Yes.
Did I miss you?
Yeah, the Golden Globes hosts are Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh. Right,
okay, I get you.
Kevin Hart stepped down this morning from the Oscar hosting gig.
That's what I'm saying. So, in general, that with making the choices like how they pick these hosts and everything, you got to be funny, you got to be able to work a room, got to be charming, but you also got to be safe. You got to be comfortable. And I think that with that, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be a fun show. It's gonna be good. They're gonna be great hosts. But tying it to the Kevin thing, I just think that it's just, he did apologize. He apologized. And so it gets edgy, man. Everybody not gonna like you, is what I realized. Yeah. So even with those two hosts with the Golden Globes, they're gonna have some people gonna be laughing, some people are not gonna be laughing. Some people are not laughing, not because they aren't talented hosts, but they were mad because they got there late.
Right.
We have no control, so you just don't know.
With social media and Hollywood, when you're up for a job, do you know if casting directors or executive producers or directors look at your social media and ever judge you based on what you might have tweeted? Is that something that young actors should consider?
I think, now it's definitely feeling that way. And it's unfortunate because sometimes, we have these jokes, but some certain jokes probably shouldn't be. They only are understood at home for whatever reason, and so now it's definitely feeling that way, where people are going and digging up stuff and finding it, and like you said, sometimes we do things, and there are some things we've done in high school. We like, I'm totally not that person anymore as an adult. We make mistakes, we learn from them, we try to grow. And so now it is a thing. Who knows? They're probably looking, or if not them, somebody around them is looking. And
something.
And it's unfortunate because, a lot of times people don't really mean to be mean or whatnot, but social media, whatever it is, it gets magnified. Such a big deal.
I just have to be, I think, extra careful in any line of work you're in, whether you're in the spotlight like a job like yours or something behind the scenes. On a really happy note, you just won Best Actor in the Overcome Film Festival.
Yeah, that's very kind of them, and whoever acknowledged it. Because again, to what we're talking about, sometimes you don't. As an actor too, you almost feel like you feel like you're slept on. No one's paying attention. You just work, and you just try to get it done. And so, for anybody to say, we like what he did, I was just trying to, when they approached me with the project, I just wanted to take on something totally different from Reggie. This was a very dramatic piece, very emotional, and I play a paralyzed athlete in this project, and I just took it really like for an acting course for me to grow. And so to be acknowledged that's cool, man. It's appreciated, that people even care to watch and felt some sort of way.
Your work is getting recognized in a big way. It's exciting.
People are starting to notice a little bit maybe, so that's cool, man. Because this is why when I run to people on the street, I try to be very kind to them and take time, take pictures, whatever it is, because I know that people don't have to talk to me. And so I it's cool, man. It's cool to be recognized.
Well, gratitude, I think, is a big thing that if you never lose that, you'll be fulfilled in life.
Hey, if you keep your feet on the ground when you fall, it won't hurt as much because you'll already be down there.
I like that. Yeah, and the older you get, you realize how quickly things can spin out of control.
That's why you got to stay. You got to stay humble. You got to stay. Look, this is how I feel about it. I would much rather keep myself humble so that God doesn't have to do it.
Oh.
I don't need no help being humble. I got it. Let me stay right on the ground by myself. I got it. I'm cool. I'll
shake your hand on that one. That is strong. All right, thank you so much, Linda, and congrats on the award, and congrats on the new season of Ballers.
Thank you kindly. I appreciate you.
Again soon.
Hey, that's the goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you. For our last segment, we have Dr. Ronald Caplan joining us via Skype. He is one of the editors of the new book, The Care of the Older Person, which is a helpful guide for those caring for elders and seniors themselves. Welcome, Dr. Caplan.
Good to be with you, Diana.
It's excellent to have you. And this is something that weighs on my mind. I'm 35 years old. I have very vivacious parents, but they are considered senior citizens. And I do worry as a daughter what caring for them as they get older is going to be like. So can you give us an overview of your book?
Oh, I sure could. What we did was we started out writing a book for providers of health care to older people. And then we quickly realized, because everybody we ran into or came in contact with said, wow, I have a mother or I have a father, just like you said, or we have grandparents who aren't doing too well, or an aunt or a friend. And we quickly realized that with 50 million people over the age of 65 and over in the United States, that there is no way on earth that specialized physicians who specialize in various disease processes and who specialize in the care of older people could handle 50 million people. So we decided to get a book out there to everybody, hopefully, who has a stake in taking care of older people, professionals, family, and so that they could have some kind of an overview of what to do, and more importantly, when to contact professional help. And for the people themselves who are 65 and over, most of whom are pretty vibrant and healthy and doing well, like your parents, they it wouldn't hurt them to read it either. And we covered topics like declining cognitive abilities and physical abilities and various disease processes and frailty. We even get into the legal aspects of getting older and what you should be taking care of there. And how to know if an older person really has good judgment anymore, because sometimes the person themselves doesn't really realize what's going on with them, especially if their cognitive abilities are starting to fade.
Yeah. And it is important to have, whether it's a caretaker, a child of the older person, to be able to recognize, like, my mom or my dad or my grandparent isn't acting the way they usually act, and what those signs are. Because like you said, it's a lot of cognitive issues can emerge past 65. And sometimes we're in the dark and think, oh, well, they're just being forgetful. But really, that's just a warning sign of a deeper, bigger problem.
Absolutely, and that's one of the big warning signs. It is true, older people get forgetful. Other people get forgetful too. Even younger people get forgetful. But
I'm guilty.
It's a continuum, and you have to be careful. I think the most important thing is don't be condescending to older people. They're usually pretty smart. They've been around a long time. Stuff, and if you start being condescending to them, they pick it up in a second.
Well, that's something about,
even if their memories are gone a little bit.
I'm sorry to jump in on that, Dr. Caplan, but I do see a disrespect from our generations, and I think it's very societal. I know that other countries have more respect for the elderly. I feel like America is so impassioned and obsessed with youth that they forget about the wisdom that we have in our elders and the respect we should have for them.
Well, we move very fast. We're a fast-moving society. We're very progressive, and people don't have time for people who take a little longer to get their thoughts out or to figure out where they are or who they are. These are important things to know. A person needs to be aware of their surroundings, what time it is, what day it is, what month it is. And these are the things that if they start to go, the person may need much more care than usual.
Right.
Care falls to, first of all, the family, obviously. And this can lead to a lot of problems within a family because invariably, sure, if somebody gets sick for a day or an hour or a week, that's an acute illness and everybody's concerned and you get over it and you help them through it. But these things of gradual decline, whether it's physical decline or mental decline, they are gradual and they just go on and on and on and on. People living for much longer, that's a heck of a commitment.
No, it is. And the fatigue of the caretaker. And you hear the stories all the time about the caretaker doesn't take care of themselves. And sometimes if it's the spouse of the elderly person who's in need of care, they get sick. And something I want to touch on as we're running out of time, unfortunately, is that sometimes taking care of an older parent can create conflict among siblings.
That's exactly right, especially if one sibling lives close and they're doing all the hands-on real care, and some other brothers and sisters are just maybe throwing some money at it, sending in a check once in a while, or making a phone call, and it creates a lot of friction in a family. So these things have to be addressed too. And the very extreme of this, and we cover this in the book as well, is elder abuse, which is not unheard of.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, no, and that's when you even have an elderly family member that's in an assisted living home. They always say make sure they have an advocate, because unfortunately, if someone isn't there to remind the staff that there's someone watching over and watching out for, sometimes that elderly relative gets neglected, and that can result in all kinds of health problems like bed sores. So, I mean, there's really no way around it that getting old just sucks, but there's a way you can do it with grace and help your older parents have a little bit of that dignity into their golden years. And your book helps.
We try not to think of it as getting old sucks. We try to think of it as you have to be brave to get old. Basically, you have to be a survivor.
Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate what you're doing, and it's unfortunately a forgotten community, and there needs to be more conversation around it.
Well, it's great to be with you, and just the website is www.careoftheolderperson.com.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
And that's it for today's show. Thanks for being here. If you like the show, spread the word and share it with your friends. Make sure to like Bold TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For more Bold TV, join us on Fridays at 10 a.m. for our politics show, at noon for our business show, and at 2 p.m. for another episode of Bold Life. Thank you, and have a wonderful weekend.